Hello, everybody. This is Ignition. Get tuned in, and my co-host is not here. He's not here, so I'm gonna do a little bit of live drawing and answer the chat, stuff like that. Um, until he comes in, I have a feeling that something is not going right. All right, all right. So I'm just gonna be inking this page, basically some things that I haven't finished yet. Until I get the co-host here. But we're going to talk about some current events, composition of a page, um, talk about Fallout 76, and what am I gonna do without a co-host? That's what we're going to talk about. Where's Siphon? Hold on, let me pull up the chat here and see if anybody's currently. Oh, we're up against Ethan. That's awesome. That's gonna keep happening to me no matter what. Alright, I'm gonna do some live inking for now until Chris gets in here, or anybody comes, so that we can do some talking to people. But I'm willing to talk to any of you guys in the chat if you have any questions. Let me back out this page a little bit so you can all see it all. I hate when it does that far. It's a delicate balance. Here's this full page. Oh, let me put that back. I'm gonna need that. Okay. So I'm flying solo, no co-host. I really don't play video games anymore, so I can't talk about Fallout until Chris gets here. Um, Talking about a composition of a page, I wouldn't talk about this one because this is, I rarely do these double page spreads, and this is a tricky one where everything hasn't. Well, there's some layers that I'm not showing because I don't want to reveal everything. But I'll finish inking up both these cars and the flames that are on the cars and stuff like that. But I don't want to reveal who's throwing the car. I mean, people know who, but I don't want to reveal exactly everything what he looks like. So he's on a different layer, and I've yet to do some backgrounds. I may ink something else, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'll be paying attention to the chat as I draw. I can kind of show you my setup if you want, where I keep my phone while I'm doing this kind of a thing. Um, so I'll get right into it. Now, without a co-host who was supposed to come and carry the whole load, I'm kind of, every time I stream, my tools never behave right. It really kind of bugs me. I hate the live draw by myself without somebody who can interact with me. So if you're here and one of you wants to come in, just chat something. If I know who you are, I'll send you the link. we'll go we'll go rogue. I'm not gonna ink close to his head yet. I'm going to change that head. I don't like it at all. So this is basically a car, well, Range Rover that got split in half. By my character Ignition's powers. And this is just me sort of noodling what it would look like based on this Range Rover being split in half. So it's more of an illusion than anything. I used reference. There is actual Range Rover that is cut in half, and it sits in a museum, or it travels to museums, but I think right now it's sitting in Toronto in some museum. And you can actually look that up and see the reference that I used, because this is obviously something unique to actually split a car in half with this guy's abilities. But the people that are here, I appreciate you coming to watch. Feel free to talk. And hey, somebody answer one question for me. Can you hear me? Because the last time I did this, there was 13 minutes of silence. So if you will, please answer this question in the chat. Can you hear me fine? Please answer. Please answer. If you can't hear me, how could you hear me ask a question? Maybe I should have just chatted the question, huh? Oh, lordy. Nobody wants to. I'm gonna assume you can hear me, because I actually turned up the volume on my phone just to check and make sure. So I'm gonna have to do something for a second to send somebody an invite. Just give me a sec, and I gotta close this. I gotta lock on me. You can't see the hangout, so I'm not worried about that. Stop screen sharing is over here. What? How you guys doing? Just gonna put my avatar on for a second, and I'm gonna go invite somebody to help me out who's not available just yet. But when you're drawing, you want somebody to kind of sort of talk to sort of carry the load of the show. Hmm. So just give me a second. Let me go to the show and see if there's anybody. There's nobody chatting. Don't tell me somebody's monitoring my channel to see if I'll say something or give myself away. Ooh, holy. Why did it. Wait, why is it showing that? Oh, mother. Mother. I stopped screen sharing. What the hell? It's boomer moment. Good lord. I think I'm just gonna go back to drawing. I'm using Clip Studio if anybody's wondering. Top-notch program that can do anything. Almost everything, but it can do what you need to do if you don't have Photoshop or don't want to pay for the subscription to Photoshop, because that can get to be, a grind monthly paying for the bundle, especially if you want something like After Effects if you got a YouTube channel, so that you can add things to your videos and stuff like that and create your own promos, intros, and like logo stings. There's other software to do that, but After Effects does it too. I did mine the OG way. And I'm happy with it for now. I think I should use a ruler sometimes here. Okay, we're down to one person. I understand I'm going against the big show. That's fine. It seems no matter what time I pick, um, one of two shows always goes on, so that's alright. The one person that's here, do they want to chat. Do they want to come be an interim co-host? Or if you have some other way to communicate with me and you don't know how to use the chat, um, you might as well, because this is not going so well. You know what? I think I might just come on camera and talk about something. Because there's a guy that I kind of want to talk about. So maybe I'll do that in a second here. I'll just come on camera, explain some things about ignition, and talk to you directly. Maybe engage by doing so. If people watch this after it's posted, that they'll see, oh, you know what, this guy is just a regular guy trying to help us out, try to teach us how to be better at, those who want to do this in the future. As far as if you have an Indiegogo that you do want to put out, I suggest. Here's the thing. For whether you watch this later, watch this live, or whatever, Comics Gate is not a sort of a doorway to that's open to you because you want to work in comics. Comics still take hard work, and if you're a writer, look for a good artist who's gonna you're gonna be able to work with one, but who's gonna represent what you're looking for with a professional attitude. Because as we see what's going on in current events, there's some unprofessionalism going on. Two, find somebody that looks like he put in the hard work to make himself a viable artist. That's never easy. This requires tons of hard work. Look, I'm without giving away too much. Um, I'm sure you know what an OG is. I'm an OG. But I worked hard. I dabbled when I was younger. It was something I always wanted to do. And there was a point where I just sort of got better at it. Was able to monetize myself. I haven't made a ton of money at this. This is not a get rich thing. Regardless of what you saw with Ethan's campaign and how much Cyberfrog made, this is not something where you're going to end up being comfortable once you get to that point where you can monetize yourself. And this part of it, as far as creating a brand, engaging the fans, this is not the easy part. I'll tell you that. It's not the easy part for me. I do like meeting people, but this is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Because I'm really not, I don't want to put that there yet in case I change something. I'm not really meeting you. I'm not talking to you. I'm not engaging you personally. Whereas if I was at a convention and I would add my own table, I might get to do that. That's a terrible line. And I like that. I want to talk to you. I don't want to go sit at a convention and draw and do little tchotchke drawings that yeah, I might make some money that way, but that doesn't really get you to know me and get you to buy into what I'm trying to do. That's just, hey, I like your art. I want you to draw me a picture of Batman. You know, I'm not saying I wouldn't do that, but it's just not my thing to sit at a convention and draw out and open in front of people. Something, just like this is something I'd have to get used to. You know. But yeah, this part of this, like Ethan says, start build your channel, start giving people some content. Let them know that they have the ability to reach you. Of course, you have the ability to reach me. I don't hide behind anything. My channel has a name, but you know how you can find me on Twitter, um, Facebook. You know my name. Am I a little nervous about current things that are going on and getting doxxed? Certainly. I'm a little nervous about that. But I come correct. I'm not bringing hatred. I'm not bringing anything but, I try to put it this way. I try to engage you and act accordingly on social media as if my mother, who has passed away recently, is watching. And that I'm out, that I wouldn't want to make her ashamed of me in something I said, you know. So we'll see if I can get a Tank Ferret in here. Sort of carry, I have some actual questions for Tank, and that's why I wanted to invite him, because he's doing some interesting things. Um, but he also knows how to tweet out and, maybe get some more viewers in here. But again, the show gets watched, it just doesn't get watched live because of what I'm going up against. So I'm just gonna act like there's 1,000 people watching and try to say the things that I had planned to say today. But you really got to put in the work. I know you're looking at some campaigns and going, well, I could do that, you know. And some of those campaigns have found success, and I don't think that success has anything to do with the talent. Some of that success probably has a little bit to do with um, how they, how they've engaged people on their platforms. They may not be the greatest artist, but they've engaged people in a different way. And that's something like I said, I'm just here to learn this, get comfortable with it, get better at it, and hopefully, you know, there's something about me that, other than just my art, that you're willing to buy into, because I can't just bring you a book. I have to bring you an experience. If I can do that, I don't know, I'm just adding crap that's not even there. I don't even know why. Just to fill in spots and stuff like that. It's just more of an illusion. It's not really meant, I mean, granted I had reference, but it's not really um, meant to look exactly what an engine would look like cut in half. Uh, but if I can create the illusion, then I've done my job. You know what I mean? That's what this is about. That's what comics are about. Creating the illusion that this is something, one, something you have never seen. So pulling it off in a way that you go, wow, his character just cut a car in half. If I pull off that illusion, it'll just, your eye will just see it as one thing. You know what I mean? You won't be looking at, that doesn't look like a real engine. That doesn't look like a real muffler. That doesn't look like a real seat. If I pull off the illusion well enough, your eye just believes it. Again, I did my best to follow the reference I had, but some of this minutia detail is meant to look like it's molting metal and not just detail of the actual engine. A lot of this stuff I even wrote molting, so that's more of a color thing. I might actually not even um, render that in ink. I'm just notating it that when I get to that point, I'm out to make it look like the metal melted there. There might be some little details that I render. We'll see. But I don't see any questions coming. So I'm going to check something, see if I can get somebody else in here. Help out. Then I'll come on camera and talk about a few things. crap, I gotta plug in my phone so that I can keep reading the chat. Give me a sec. Alright, I'll just act like I said, and like hopefully people watch this show when it oh, Chris is in the chat. Ugh, Chris. If you figure it out, obviously I've sent you the Hangout link, so if you end up coming in, you do. If you can't because you have potato equipment, that's fine. It happens. Maybe I should send the link out a few more times to people. Anybody in the chat want to come talk to me, ask me questions, sort of live? I'd be willing to do that. If it's somebody I know and I'm already friends with you on Twitter or Facebook, I can send you the link. Chris, help! Yeah, Chris is in the chat, and he, see, you can see how he has a sense of humor. Flaming minivan. If Ethan went on at the same time all the time, I wouldn't have went on today, right now, knowing that he was going on. I mean, I would change my show to a different time. So maybe I should just cut and run right now. If the people in the chat are finding this interesting, watching me do this, or don't mind listening to me babble about doing this, just let me know. I'll keep doing it. It doesn't make for exciting YouTube, but sometimes people like watching people work. I don't know. But let me tell you, okay, let me come on camera and state something. Just go on record, because I've answered I've answered what ignition is about. Tilt this. All right. Now, obviously, the last couple of days' events in our community have created some nervousness. Um, the Huts, he's a little worried, and he's not even gonna have guests on anymore. Obviously, doxing is not a nice thing. You know, I'm again, I don't hide behind any names or monikers. You can kind of figure out who I am. You probably could find exactly where I live, but I'm not here talking about politics. I'm not saying you can't talk about politics. Honestly, that's not my thing. That's not what I'm about as far as what I'm bringing you. I'm bringing you product. I'm bringing you content here on YouTube. I have no business preaching to you. This is not a preachy channel. I have no business trying to dissuade you to believe in anything I do. Um, I have no business to call you out on anything. This is not part of my channel, you know, or call out people. Now, I might talk about entertainment, things I like. We were going to talk about video games today, but I'm not here to call out individuals because of how they behave on Twitter. You know, if you're in the chat and you want to talk, we can talk. But I'm not gonna say, "Oh, did you see this or see that?" Because that's your business. You know, it's who you know, and maybe it's not good business, maybe it's bad business. But I'm not here to bring that to my audience. That's not what I'm about. You know, I'm not gonna bring anything like that. Okay, I'm bringing you a product. I'm willing to talk about that product. I'm willing to bring you more than the book. I'm willing to engage with you. I didn't align myself to a person or two people. I aligned myself to the ideology of what you're not looking for in current mainstream comics. You're saying we don't want this. You know, leave this stuff out. This should be about superheroes and supervillains and who they fight and stuff like that. But leave out the agenda stuff. Okay? My comics won't have that. They won't have that kind of agenda. I'm not bringing you a political agenda or an ideology into my comics. The consumer ideology that Comicsgate is all about, as far as what you're looking to purchase, that's what I'm hoping to bring you. You may not like it. You may not even like my art. That's okay. But if you do and you hang with me, you'll see that my comics can be very retro feel. It's going to be sort of Peter Parker when he was young, or Starman when he first took over. Uh, when he was the young Starman, took over for the older Starman. Written by James Robinson and drawn by Tony Harris. Um, it's gonna have there's gonna be multiverse characters, so every multiverse has an ignition in it. I don't want to give away too much because I want the writer to come on and give away everything, because that's what I've been working on. He just moved and he doesn't have Wi-Fi yet, but that's what so I've been sort of, I haven't been misleading, but not even everything I have said about ignition is, it's just things we've mentioned. Okay, I've given you some nuts and bolts, but I've kind of given you some things we've talked about. I'm not overhyping it. I'm not underhyping it. It's because it's way bigger than what everything anything I've ever said. It's way bigger than that. The book is a long haul book. If it's liked and it finds the core audience that it needs, I'll do it for 30 years. Doesn't matter. There's enough going on in this universe of these characters where there's enough interesting characters, there's enough interesting villains, um, and who doesn't want, my character is not going to be ageless and stay at this particular age for the rest of his life. You know what I mean? That's not, to me, that's not appealing, and that's probably why I outgrew superhero comics, because it wasn't appealing to watch these characters stay a certain age and stay sort of stigma into or stymied into a sort of look that they had, and sort of their class didn't change. Nothing changed about them. I mean, granted, Peter Parker is no longer in high school, or he's even no longer in college, but the period of time that it took for him to get from high school to married family man, that's like 40 years, you know? And that's not my plan. But it will have sort of that feel. My character is, you meet him in year two, okay? Year two, we we see Ignition, who's sort of at the beginning of his ability to control his power. He has his power really almost, it's almost unlimitless, but he's not there yet. Now he has sort of a clunky design. His mask looks a little weird to you guys because here's the thing. He's been given this tech costume to help control the radiation he gives off. So he's not out to hurt anybody, but sometimes his power flares up. Sometimes it's sort of almost like he's mutating into a more powerful hero. Like there's levels and he hasn't reached them yet. So you're going to see some things like him cause damage and the consequences of that. This book has stakes. And one thing the writer Leon Mackenzie taught me is any product or any book out there without stakes is shallow and it's really crap. You know, look what happened to Fear the Walking Dead, when they lost their stakes. The things that you were looking like you watched for these reasons. How are we gonna get Carl to be a man in this world? How are we gonna get Rick to get to a point where all the things he believes in, he's able to do? I forget the Fear the Walking Dead character played by Kim Dickens, but you know, 3 years in, she's gone. You know, that was her family. She was all about, I'm gonna, even though it kept shrinking a little bit along the way, I'm gonna save what I got, and I'm gonna do everything I can to save what I got, no matter what the stakes are. I'm gonna save, and then the stakes are gone. She's gone. So when you lose the stakes in something, then what? It's watered down. It's not viable. You know. So hopefully, what's this he saying? Here's over 9,000. He's over 9,000 years old. Chris, you better hurry up and get in here, man. What is going on? So, Ignition, right? You're gonna see him grow. You're gonna see him sort of level up power-wise. You're gonna see, uh, you're gonna see his world change. There's a little more behind the name Ignition than just a superhero. Okay, so he's a catalyst to events going on in his world. There was a sort of an emptiness going on of heroes and villains because there was a hero. So I'm giving away probably a little too much, but there was a hero that cleaned house and said, you know what? I do away with the villains. I do away with the heroes. There's none of this chaos in our universe. There's none of this chaos in anywhere on the planet. So I'm the most powerful superhero on the planet. I'm gonna clean house. Well, he was the most powerful, and he cleaned house. He killed some superheroes. He killed some villains. People went into hiding. People escaped the planet. My first villain is reanimated from that time period. So he was killed by the character called the Mighty, and now he's alive again. So these are huge stakes. I don't want to give away too much. I really want the writer. Like I said, I've been asked a lot, and I've been answering a lot for both of us. And if I give away everything, then when I have him on, um, he's not gonna have much to talk about. But trust me, as far as the book in sort of what type, like obviously superhero genre, but what type of book am I bringing to you? Something that I fell in love with when I first read comic books. Peter Parker had so many problems that Spider-Man was one of them, but he had home problems, work problems, relationship problems. These sort of had an ebb and flow into everything he did. They sort of creeped into other areas of his life. So not getting those pictures of himself as Spider-Man to sell to J. Jonah Jameson meant he didn't pay rent. So it was always like a avalanche of snow rolling into um, chaos, and how he would try to overcome it. So you're gonna have that feeling with my character that, oh my God, this poor guy. How is he gonna get out of this? Is he gonna, you know, because when you first see him, granted my character is sort of a pretty boy character. When you first see him, everything is really kind of calm, and but that's the name, Ignition. Things are about to not be calm, and his world is about to be filled with evil, pure evil, and it's about to be filled with tons of energy and tons of chaos and destruction and people out to get him, people turning on him. So this is the idea behind this whole thing, is what me and Leon always talked about, or he taught me about stakes. If you bring something that has stakes and you capture them emotionally, if I can capture you emotionally with the book, and then start working in things like this kind of content, talking to you here on YouTube, Twitter. If you notice, if you follow me, I follow back. You don't look at my account and go, "Oh, he's got more people that are following him than he's following." No, look, everybody art who I've always liked, I follow. Everybody who follows me, I just follow them back. Because if you want to talk to me, I want to make it so that you can. Okay? Just like I'll answer questions in the chat. If you want to engage me, I've given you an opportunity to do so. If you're going to try to cause me harm, the universe is going to come back at you in some other way. So I'm not hiding behind anything. I'm not here to bring drama. I'm not here to bring, um, you know, hate back to somebody. It's not going to be my channel. That might be something that doesn't people may not like. Maybe they like that drama. Yeah. Oh, oh my God! Look who it is! Look who it is! It's Chris. What's going on, Chris?
Oh,
I gotta make sure everybody can hear you, so I'm gonna lock on you. I'm gonna white box you.
oh God, he's hotboxing me.
I don't even know how, because usually they're next to each other. I don't even know how to do this. Hotbox you. Oh lordy.
I'm gonna Dutch oven this place.
If I do undo me, okay, there you are. You're next to me. Okay, I'm gonna
And I'm
hotbox you.
making noises.
All right, your hotbox. Um, have you been listening? Because it sounds like you've been listening.
Okay, I can hear myself.
Oh, excellent. So you checked for me. Perfect. So have you been listening to what I've been talking about?
Yeah, I got YouTube to run. That's why I was typing all that stuff in the chat box on the PC. I finally hooked up speakers to it and everything.
So here's my thing. There's obviously some things going on, and I don't know if you know who Hut is, but he has a
Nope.
channel. He's sort of he reviews comics almost like DNC, right? He's a Mets fan, so he'll do some Mets stuff, and then he'll talk trending comics or trending topics, and he'll just do this with a phone. You know what I mean? Just him and a phone, and it's very low budget. Um, I'm pretty sure like most of his videos, or maybe all of them, are a phone. But he's got 777 subscribers,
Uh,
which is really good, right? I would take that. So today I went and listened to him, and he's really nervous because of the Nurkish thing. He's nervous because of what's going on with EVS. He's nervous that Richard quit Twitter. He's nervous. he's actually quit Twitter, and I'm like, dude, don't abandon the 777 people you have, because he's been wanting to have me on the show, and now he's like, I don't think I'm gonna have anybody on the show. I'm like, just wait, let this blow over, let what's going on just sort of go away, and it'll get back to the point where this isn't all about egos. Because right now it's a little bit about egos, and I don't know if people are reading between the lines. But I'm not saying they're acting uncharacteristic to who they are, but there's something going on here that's you got to read between the lines of what's going on. You got any thoughts about what's the current events? Because I remember I talked to you a little bit, and you're not really paying attention, but things are starting to kind of blow up a little bit.
Oh, I have no idea what's going on. I see from the outside of people are leaving Comicsgate, and they're apparently it's tribalism picking itself up. Like, oh, well, people don't realize that you can still follow people, but not you don't have to agree with everything they say or anything they say. Like, how many people who hate Donald Trump actually go in and have him on Twitter? It's not that they like the guy; they hate follow him. So I just don't see the point in like picking sides. It's like unless I see somebody do something or somebody points out like this person like uh, what's her I know it's Ren famous. I don't even know who this person like who she is, but like that she's doxing people. It's like don't do that. Like just don't do it.
Personally, I'm not worried about it. Um, you know, I'm not saying I've been a saint on Twitter. Well, on Twitter, I haven't actually ever said anything, but I'm not saying I've been a saint. Okay, I'm not a big fan of Trump, but there's a reason why. I kind of want my president to be smarter than a fifth grader. That maybe he's sort of playing a little bit of rope a dope, and he might be smarter than he is, but I don't really like how he comes across. That's fine. Is he doing some good things? Sure. Is he doing some bad things? Sure. But I listened to a little bit to Ethan's show from yesterday, and there's still this thing where the people think he's gonna be able to build a wall. And I'm gonna tell you something. There was never any real truth behind building a wall. That was never.
Build them all.
That was never. That was sort of a decoy that people fell for. Trump is not interested in building a wall. What he really has been interested in conjunction with that whole idea of building a wall was privatized prisons, which has made him, his family, and his friends a ton of money because they've been getting grants, federal money, this, that, and the other thing. If you look into it, you'll see, oh, this is what this has been about. Privatized prisons where we're housing these people, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, how these kids haven't been given back yet, or these people haven't been put back to where they're supposed to go, or none of that's really what this is about. it's it's just a falsehood, and people kind of get duped into this. But I don't really want this to be a politics show. Just wanted to state that it's never been about a wall, so don't fall for that crap. Because he's not
Oh,
gonna
I don't even pay attention to
he's, he's not gonna build a wall. It's like the silliest thing, I don't even want to go there.
that.
But now being worried about being doxxed and things like that, you know, it's kind of a little late in the game. I guess I should have changed my name all over the place. Doesn't mean somebody can't dig. I might have made a post about a place I once worked. You
Well,
know,
I don't like the idea of anybody agreement on politics or what like just some generic thing like if you look at what people are doing in uh, to Comicsgate people or people who are giving money to diversity comics or even Ethan of that they're going in and they're like doxing those people and calling their work. It's like why would you that's
you break up a little bit.
point it becomes evil if you know something's wrong and you still do it and it harms other people. like I can't imagine like you have kids, you have like your daughter and everything.
Hmm.
I can't imagine that somebody would be that vindictive over something so stupid at like comics or like I don't care if you like Trump, I don't care if you like Clinton, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's like unless that person is like a direct harm to like somebody else, there's no reason you should be going after them.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously I agree because this kind of thing, I wouldn't be so much worried about me, be honest. But like you mentioned, my kids, if it affects them, there'll be then I'll it'll create causal and effect, and the effect may be something that you know hurts this whole thing. You know what I mean? I may just be like, all right, I might do the same thing. Like, all right, time to fold up ship and throw it all away because you can't have
Well,
it anymore.
for like in your case, like not specifically you, but anybody who has kids or for like in my case, I'm my mom's caregiver. If somebody went and doxed me and then called social services and said I'm abusing my mom, I could go to jail for that, or I like just the mere mention of that can destroy
Mm-hmm.
my life. And I'm not saying I have anything to lose, but it's the fact that somebody can go in and my mom, she is defenseless. Not, I mean, she has her sister, which, but her sister lives in another town. She has her best friend, but her best friend can't take care of her.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, as soon as you take me out of the equation, you're not just harming me, like you said, you're harming somebody else in the like a third party who has nothing to do with it. And using a child or saying like that a child or an adult or anything is collateral damage to some stupid crap is it's unacceptable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not only that, getting people fired, you know, especially for things like they did when they were younger. We all do some stupid things when we're young, right? I was not. I didn't go. Obviously, I didn't go looking at what James Gunn wrote when he was younger, or these comedic things that he wrote, or whatever he's trying to do, be funny or whatever. I didn't go looking. I didn't go reading because he he's not my neighbor. You know what I mean? If he makes a movie and
Yeah.
it's something I want to go see, I'll go see it. I don't make my judgment based on. I mean, it's just not the kind of person I am. Now, I'm not saying I shouldn't be, or I should be, or you should be. It's just not the person I am to go, oh, I heard that guy's a jerk. I'm not going to see his movie. If it's a superhero movie, why wouldn't I go see it, right? You know?
Yeah, I could if a person like I have a problem with what's that dumbass who did Rosemary's Baby? I forgot his name.
Woody Allen.
No,
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 no, no, no, no.
uh
I thought you were talking
crap, I
about
can't remember his
Woody Allen.
name. Polanski.
Yes, Roman
Like that
Polanski.
I have a problem with that guy.
Right,
Like I am not going to see his stuff because one what he did is unacceptable to
right,
me. Like he physically did it. He was convicted of it. It's not he never denied doing it.
right. And he ran
So,
from the country to, you
yeah,
know,
so like him I have a problem with. James Gunn, I'm not going to not see his movies, but I'm also like I wouldn't let kids around him just because of the tone that those like that persona that he put out at that time it that like anybody who abuses kids animals people anybody defenseless I have a problem right there like so I don't know that he did anything but it's just like I personally wouldn't let if I had a kid I wouldn't want him around that guy. I'm not saying I'm not going to see his movie but it's just like I get he's a little hinky for me.
no, he did do these things in the vein of trying to be funny, right? I don't even, like I said, I didn't
See
go looking for him.
I I didn't go looking for it, but people were posting stuff that he actually said, and to me, it didn't come off as jokes. Like I have like the stuff I don't say on Twitter, and I don't like the jokes I don't make in
Mm-hmm,
person
mm-hmm,
would get me in so much trouble because I like my gut reaction to everything is to make a joke. And
Right.
I
W-
know where like bad comedy comes from, and
Right.
I did not see a joke in it. I saw like it looked like a thing that a pedophile would make jokes about, like because they're taunting you. It
Right.
came off more as a taunt than a joke, and it might have been jokes. It might he just might have a really piss poor sense of humor, but for
B-
me,
but you
the
bring up
tone of it. So that's all that was.
a good point, because the reason why I kind of sort of gravitated towards you as doing this with me is your sense of humor, because I saw something, I could hear something, and I could tell this guy doesn't know how to shut it off, and that's what I needed. Not saying everything you see is funny or not, or this or that, or anything, or black or dark or colorful, but I knew that you have, you just don't shut it
I
off.
don't
It's
take a lot of
there.
I don't take a lot seriously, so I my first instinct on everything is not so much to make a joke. Like I'm not going to go to a funeral and make a joke about the guy, but like if he died in a funny way, it's going to make me laugh inside my head. Like Dennis Leary had a joke. Somebody knocks a poodle off the like 30th floor of a skyscraper and it lands on the guy, and the headline is "Man killed by man's best friend." To me, that's funny.
Right, right. I
I'm not
remember that.
saying
I
that it's
remember
funny
that.
the guy's dead, but just that situation, I'd make that kind of stupid joke, but I wouldn't do it like in front of people because I don't want to die.
Right. Maybe I should move this out of the way. Yeah, but again, you make a good point, because I don't know him personally. What if he were like you, and he just has that kind of sense of humor, and he can't shut it off, and it goes wherever it goes. Doesn't mean he's you see what I mean? So that's why, again, these things were done when he was younger, or supposedly. Again, I didn't go looking. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Screwed with on his thing was the fact that he is friends with people who have. One of the guys was on trial for child pornography. Another guy, that he was in business with I don't think he did anything to kids, but he was involved in something that like impacted kids. So it's like uh you it's the environment that he was within. There's that douchebag who worked for Nickelodeon and
I
then Disney,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
and it was in that circle. I don't know if he was directly connected to that guy, but it's the 6 degrees of separation that they started finding all these people connected to each other, and he
Hmm.
was involved in that. So it's like he wasn't direct friends as far as I know, but it was just like that gravity well, and it's like this the more you start finding, it's like the worse it looks. Like his jokes, you're like, I don't know if these are really jokes now. And for me, it didn't come off in jokes in the first place. Like I didn't even look at it until somebody started pointing out the harshest stuff he was saying and doing. I'm like, oh god, that does not look good at all.
Right. Maybe I should have looked. But again, the point being that I was kind of floored by it, the whole Allison Mack thing, you know? But doesn't
I don't
mean
even know
I'm.
who that is.
Oh, Allison Mack was she was on Smallville, right? Do you remember, did you ever watch Smallville?
No, I don't know why
What?
I didn't watch like that. I didn't watch any of the WB or CW stuff.
What? Good
Like I
Lord.
think my last WB stuff was Animaniacs.
So anyway, so Allison Mack was a character, Chloe, on Smallville. She hasn't really done much since then. So you started to see her pop up at conventions, a lot of them. But she got sort of caught doing that's something she's been doing for years, is sort of grabbing certain types of women and pulling them into this cult. Remember,
Oh God, I didn't know who that was, but I remember that. And then didn't she go to jail for that? Like she was like a conspirator
she was
to make people out JWs or something like that.
yeah, she was grooming women for, I don't know if she was just grooming them for this one particular guy, or for a group of people that could sort of use sort of a catalog, because I've heard of this kind of thing, unfortunately. But they'll create a catalog of, if you're in this city, just call this number if you're here visiting, and it's like doctors and lawyers and stuff you wouldn't believe. Trust me, I had one little experience in this world with a doctor that I knew in Florida who had this kind of thing. Like, for instance, they had like four or five doctors where they paid, say, 10 girls. These doctors were traveling doctors that would go to different hospitals up and down Florida. They paid 10 girls to gave them apartments, put them up, if it would be near a college, we'll pay for the college, but when one of us is around, this is gonna go this way. And I remember, you know, I knew, I knew his wife and I knew his daughter. So this got really kind of weird. So, I remember seeing them out one time in Florida, and I was with some girl that only was friends with at college, and we were out. And he later said to me, "Hey, that girl, would she, and he just told me all this about this. Like, we got this catalog and this, that, and the other thing." And I was like, mother, I was ready to
Mhm.
like, are you freaking believe? I cannot
Farg.
believe. Are you really asking me to ask my friend? That ended that whole thing. But or even brush up against one, you'd go, "What? What is this? This is icky. It's
Well,
like I
that's
need to
what
go take a
bothers me
shower."
about yeah, that's what bothers me about the Pizzagate thing. I'm not saying like that's what happened or it's true or anything like that, but there's that it's the fact that you find those kind of situations of like that guy you were talking about, your friend or your ex friend that you were talking about, how he's like the, that they would start grooming people or they would like, oh wow, we got the horse shack over here.
Right.
That you would have those things exist, and it's like when somebody brings up there's a pedophile ring here, and then you have the like the grooming gangs in England.
Mm-hmm.
You start going, maybe this isn't completely
Far fetched.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
you should look at it a little more than just going, oh, it isn't it, that's crazy. That can't exist, you moron.
Mm.
Because as bad as you think it is, there's always something a little bit worse out there that's always under the radar. I mean, you look at I'm in St. Louis, and there was this kid who got kidnapped. Like I think it was like 15 years before they found him. Well, it turns out the guy who kidnapped him kept him alive, and he had like got the kid to start finding other kids. He was, I think he was like 18 or 19 at that point,
Right.
and he got that kid to go and grab other kids, and it's just like, you okay, I understand kidnapping, and I understand like that dynamic of how it
Mm-hmm.
starts building on itself, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just like you don't expect that crap to exist. You don't want it to exist. And the second you find out it exists, you want to go throw up. But for me, my initial reaction to anything like you touch a kid, you touch an animal, you touch an old person, you abuse anybody, I'm okay with putting a bullet in the back of your head and that being the end of it. I it has to be proven. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying we just start going with accusations because that's bad news.
You just
But
mentioned
like if
about.
you find that
Yeah.
guy and he's doing something, you take him out back, you put a bullet in his head, and you chuck him into a ravine or something like that. It's just to me that's unacceptable in society. You like any I don't care what culture you're in. If you're doing screwed up stuff that humanity has gone and said this is screwed up, it's done. We can put a bullet in your head and be done with it. Man, this
There's
got dark.
this right. There's obviously levels of acceptance. You know what I mean? Obviously, when you're talking about innocence and kids and things, um, this is just abhorrent in our society. But it might be more. Well, I'll be honest with you. It's more prevalent than you think. Because I can remember going up to the newsstand, Parker newsstand, here in where I live. I won't say it out loud. Um, and a guy approaching me, like play video games, this and it. And I was like the creepiest bargain thing I ever went through, and it happened more than once, and it was the same guy. So I mean, now I think, but see, you're making me think back about something that I'm going, that guy was watching me. I didn't think about it then. You know what I mean? Because I didn't know, but I knew he was icky. I'm like, I'm not getting. I don't care if you got puppies in the car. I don't care.
Wait, he had puppies in the car?
Maybe
I want to go hang out with this guy now. He's got
puppies,
puppies in this
ice
car.
cream. I'm not. I don't want any ice cream. I don't want your ice cream, dude.
Yeah.
I don't want to come play cards with you. I don't care how
Yeah.
many action figures you have. You're creeping me the frig out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not going there. So, you know, take your puppy home or whatever. I'm not coming with you. It's not happening. But I was good enough. I was old enough or mature enough to realize you don't feel right, man. It just don't feel right. I don't care. I don't care if you're telling me, hey, come to my house and you can meet Batman. I'd be like, oh yeah, no, I don't think so.
Nah. Maybe if he said, let's go meet Bobby Orr, you'd be like, oh, Bobby Orr.
So, yeah, I'm glad we covered that. So I want to cover something, and so I'm going to read something while I have it on you. Okay, we're going to talk about something you mentioned.
Oh, crap.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Fallout
Holding what I said against me.
Fallout 76. You beta tested Fallout 76. Now here let me read this. Creators of Skyrim and Fallout 4 welcome you to Fallout 76, the online prequel where every surviving human is a real person. Work together or not to survive under the threat of nuclear annihilation, experience the largest world ever created in Fallout, play solo or join together as you explore, quest, and triumph against Wasteland's greatest threats. Now, all these pictures I've seen, nobody looks human. Are just the masks um kind of crazy, or what? Tell me, because I haven't played since Fallout 2.
More or less, every single. Okay, yeah, everything you're going up against is going to be enemies. There's nothing you can go and talk to besides robots and other people playing the game. Like, other people playing the game are human. Everything else is either a super mutant, they brought a new enemy out, Scorched, which I didn't pay enough attention to the backstory of what the hell how they like their whole thing of how they function. You have the ghouls, and then various like wildlife and weird ass things. Like, since you're up in the Northeast, I'm sure you've heard of the Mothman.
Oh yeah, he lives across the street. No, I've heard of the Mothman, but it's not central to New England.
Yeah, it's in that like that's where the mythology of it came from. Like, that's where where is it? Where the hell is this game in? West Virginia.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where the actual story came from. Uh, there's I don't know what the hell these things were. They were like little sloth bear people, but they were walking around and they had guns. I killed a few of them. I don't know. Basically, I'll shoot anything that's moving around in the game. Um, but there's no, besides the robot NPCs, there's no one you're talking to, and the robot NPCs are basically vendors. They're not going to give you quests and stuff like that.
Okay,
Um,
we'll back up for a minute because I want you to tell, for just for sake of, in case somebody watches this and they don't understand, what's an NPC?
it's those people that pop up on Twitter that just repeat the same message over and over again. No, I'm just kidding.
What?
That's what the joke is. An NPC is a non-playable character in any
Oh,
role-playing game. Any game where you have, like in Grand Theft Auto,
yeah,
those
yeah,
people who
yeah.
are just walking around repeating the same motions and saying
Right.
the same crap repeatedly. That's an NPC,
Okay,
and that's
because
why that's why that meme came out, is because whenever you interact with like anybody who's doing like social justice or anything like that, they don't, like, they say the same thing, they do the same stuff. It's there's no
You do now know why
uniqueness
I
to them.
asked, right? You know why I asked.
No.
I admitted to you that I don't, these things I don't know. I have to always ask
Oh, that,
somebody.
yeah.
I I always have to, like, if I'm hearing something new, I'm like, oh my fargin' god, I gotta ask. You know, what's a this? What's a that? Explain this acronym because I'm not a millennial, so that's why I asked. I
Yeah.
pretended like I didn't, like I knew, but nobody else did. No, I didn't know, but now I know
Yeah,
because it's
no.
funny to me. I only admitted it because it's funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's basically just an NPC is just that thing that's just walking around and it can't do anything outside of its programming. Like the blades of grass in these games have more uniqueness than the not playable characters in games. Like
Right.
and a really what was it Horizon Zero Dawn. When you walk through the grass, that reacts to you as you're going through it. An NPC might see meme came from. It's because every time you hear a an SJW or just a political commentator talking where there's no nuance to it, they parrot the same thing, and then if you ask them questions or contradict them, they get pissed off at you because you're asking questions and they can't answer the question. So their reaction is, "Oh, you're a bigot."
Right. Now Fallout, right?
Hmm.
Same makers of Skyrim, obviously, Bethesda Studios. Why are we getting so many Fallouts and not Skyrim 2? Where's Skyrim 2?
Uh, they there's Elder Scrolls Online. I think no, it's not Elder Scrolls. What the hell is it? Skyrim is just it's a subname of the series. Let me see what the hell it's because I never played that series of games because I like guns as opposed to running around and like hacking at people with knives. I like more modern games.
So there will be a,
eh,
basically what it sounds like you're saying. Oh, there will be.
Well, but they probably won't. They don't have a history of making direct sequels like Fallout 1 and 2. They're sequels, but they're actually the property of somebody else that Bethesda bought. So Bethesda didn't create Fallout. They just decided to
Take that
keep
over.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Because I think the last one I played was Fallout 2, but and that wasn't, it wasn't like I beat it or anything. Um, I do sort of remember sort of a guy underground, but we won't even go into all that. But anyway, um, so you played this, right? And you're not happy.
Mhm,
Why aren't you happy?
um,
Oh,
for me, like the Fallout games, I can play them, but only for so long before I. It's not I don't get super bored with it, but it's just like you're doing the same activity over and over again, so I need to take a break from it. But this one, like the whole thing with Fallout games is the humor that they put into the game. I'm not saying most of the stuff is funny. It's like, oh yeah, that's kind of funny. It's you humor the humor, but it's there's no one to talk to. It's like the entire world is like I understand it's Fallout, so a lot of people died, but it's like the picture I was telling you that John's gonna draw of looking in the window and I want there to be you to see something going on behind the guy. That I want that to look like the world is alive. Like it's not a static picture of like, oh, it's just the guy looking out the window and there's nothing going on behind him. I want stuff going on in the game. The world itself, since there's nobody to interact with, no NPCs, you don't your quests are just kind of they exist. You stumble upon many of them. So it wasn't a matter of like you're in a dead world, except you see like another player running around somewhere every once in a while. So it was there. It felt dead, but I don't like survival based games like where you have to eat, you have to drink, your weapons start degrading and they break eventually if you don't repair them. And this one, it was like instead of you don't instead of scavenging just to collect stuff so you can just build a new gun or some armor or build in Fallout 4 that they added that you can start building settlements. Like you could build the walls, you could build the ceilings, you can build generators and all that. So you were scavenging to just do more stuff. It wasn't vital. You could just not do anything at all and you would still be able to function in the game. I
Right.
don't like games that force you to do that activity just to survive. It's like it you spend more time focusing on you surviving as opposed to stuff for like food and everything. So it takes away what just you screwing around in a game, but it's like I don't even know that uh the first time I played it, I did the stress test, which I you can't. They had a NDA on it, so you couldn't post videos, you couldn't talk to anybody about it. And then the beta came. They did the beta, and I'm playing. It's the same thing, and I'm like, oh, I'm. It's not that I'm not having fun, but I'm like I'm seeing the patterns that are coming up, and I'm like, I don't think this is not going to be good. This is. It's not a bad game. It's a very shallow game. It basically Fallout 76 feels like Fallout 4 before they added in the voice actors, the NPCs, the quests that they would give you an actual point of playing the game. Like I did the overseer is the little jerk who runs the vault. Apparently, I don't even understand that. Because I don't pay attention to what they were doing in the story. The overseer leaves the vault and just pisses off somewhere, and I don't know why they did it. They were telling a story, and it's like, shut up, I don't care. But it was to me that was kind of in Destiny 2. The whole thing of Cade dying. I don't even know if you know who that is. He was like Nathan Fillion did the voice for him,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
everyone's like, I like him so much.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
the guy from what the hell's that show?
S-
Something Fire. I forget. I can't remember. So the Cowboys in space.
Serenity. Serenity.
That's it. That he did the voice of the character who died, and it's just like I'm sitting there, and it's like, okay, why the hell did he bring out his ghost? No, like at no other point has anyone ever done that, except he's gonna do it right now. So they kill the ghost, and spoiler, they shoot him and kill him, and it's just like, oh god. And then they couldn't even get Nathan Fillion to come back just to do the voice for him dying. They got somebody else to do it. It's like, okay. So
Yeah.
it was in Fallout 76. I'm sitting there. I'm like, why would anyone do this? But then the realization came to me. Fallout 3 is done in Washington D.C. essentially, which is right near West Virginia.
Right.
And I'm like, everything I'm going to be doing in this game is absolutely useless to the game because Fallout 3 happens after this game, and there's no mention of anything anybody did in this time frame. So why? It's another reason that I didn't want to play. Like, I'm not saying don't go buy it. Apparently, the PC version has a lot of configuration issues that, like, you and I could have similar computers, but if you have a different video card,
Mm-hmm.
it could have issues that my game wouldn't have, and then I would have some kind of issues because of my video card that are different. So I don't think it's going to be ready in like 2 weeks, something like that. It's like 12 days. I can't
Yeah.
remember. I'm
It
not.
is
I
close.
canceled my pre-order, so I don't even care when the hell it comes out at this point.
Yeah, it's close because I realized that I was sharing too much of the screen. Oh, what happened today was Streamlabs came out with an update. The update allows you to have a preview section, but what it did is it moved some of my stuff around. So there was the actual address bar showing for a while.
Oh, okay.
So, if you want to come in here and talk, you can.
Yeah. Well, you can't now since what is it called? The URL for this one is different than yesterday, and it'll be different tomorrow.
No, it was showing today. That I
Oh, okay.
updated it, like, I got ready like 15 minutes before, and I updated it just as we were getting ready to kind of go on, when I opened up Streamlabs, all of a sudden it was like, do okay changes to your computer. I'm like, Pearl, you're gonna create. It's probably gonna take 20 minutes, but it didn't take long, and it was just simple stuff. It didn't. It was just that I had to. I didn't check. Okay, I should have known. I mean, Streamlabs isn't perfect, but it's really one of the best softwares you can use for free to, that works really well in conjunction with YouTube, Twitch. I think people use it for Patreon too. I'm guessing.
Oh, okay.
It's not just a screen grab software. So anyway, so the address bar was showing, so we could get some visitors. You never know, and I welcome them. That's fine. The other thing I want to talk about is, are you familiar with podcasts that are like the old radio sort of serials that would be on the radio, like Dick Tracy, and then end with a cliffhanger, and then come into next week's episode? Are you familiar with this as being sort of popular?
I don't know that it's popular, but then again, I don't know what's popular at all. I'm assuming they would exist just because there's enough people telling stories and somebody's bound to be doing it. For me, I used to do listen to some podcasts, but I never got into the serials. I think I was in that age group that was like they had already gotten into. I don't even know what the hell we were into. I guess TV shows. I didn't watch anything. I'll put it this way. I watched Sesame Street until Nickelodeon came out with Pinwheel, and I watched the hell out of that. But I would watch Sesame Street just because I don't know. Maybe I have autism. I
Well,
don't know. know.
let me stop you there. Okay, let me say something about Sesame Street. It may not be popular, okay, but I'm gonna say it anyway. There are some people out there that wouldn't even know their ABCs if it wasn't for Sesame Street.
Oh yeah,
That
especially I don't want to say they're stupid kids, but just kids who don't have that
interaction with
eh,
people,
yeah, or somebody coming up behind them and pushing them forward into that education. It's like
right?
a lot of parents
Explore,
just put a iPad in front of their kid
right?
and just let them have at it.
Now, I don't profess my Muppet love openly, but I guess I
Muppet
just did.
love.
I grew up on that stuff. I certainly enjoyed Sesame Street, and see, obviously, I have the ability to see that. Wow, where would we be as a society if it wasn't for public television and Sesame Street? Because you know what, my mother did some things in the morning, put me in front of the TV after I had breakfast, and this is how I learned. And I actually I wasn't born fully deaf, but I didn't hear well, so I sat close. It took
Hmm.
it took a couple of years for my mother to figure out my son has a hearing issue, and so then I went and had tubes and everything worked out. But I learned to read lips, and guess what? I learned to read Muppet lips.
Muppet lips.
So that's how expressive these Muppets are. So I give a lot of kudos and credit to the Muppets, and every time they try to come back out with a new Muppet show, I'm always hoping for the best, but it doesn't happen. Now by the time they get it right, my kids will be too old to sort of push them to watch it.
Yeah.
She's already 7. Yeah, she's 7. She just turned
She'll come
7.
in, Dad, I'm 14.
No, she just turned 7 within the last couple of days, actually. November 1st. So anyway, I do want to mention that I read something that I did not know this was going on. Now, you're familiar who Richard Armitage is? No?
This name sounds sort of familiar. I just
Oakenshield, or he was the main Hobbit in The Hobbit, and then in the next 3, he's the one who sort of went. He was a good guy and started to sort of believe in this other thing, and it was like, no, I'm not giving the gold to anybody. uh,
I'll have to stop you right there. I absolutely hated the Lord of the Rings movies.
oh man,
Like
I've
I like
heard.
I went and saw the first one. I was like, this I'm not enjoying this. And somebody dragged me to the second one, and I walked out like I don't know. I think it was like an hour into it. I was like, I can't fucking do this to myself. Sorry about the language. Language.
Yeah, so I'm a huge. Well, we won't even go into that. But anyway, so he was the main character in the prequels that were done after the originals, and he does the voice of Wolverine. Now they just made an announcement that they're just going to be Wolverine. I think it's called the Long Trail, and it's sort of a podcast, but he must read scripts is what they do,
hmm
and he does the voice of Wolverine. So nothing I'm familiar with. If anybody's in the chat that's familiar with it, uh, John Diller said, "What kind of knucklehead hates Lord of the Rings?"
Why is
Why
my
is he
chat's not
swearing?
updating? I gotta.
You can't
Oh, there you go.
you can't
Oh,
swear.
this kind of asshole.
Yeah, I didn't use that word. I used knucklehead. What are you doing?
Yeah, I can't help it. I read. It's Sesame Street's fault. I blame it Sesame Street.
So anyway, yeah. So this is something I read about, and I was just wondering if you're familiar because I'm not even interested in checking it out. Granted, I like Richard Armitage, and I sort of merged his likeness with someone else and created Hollow Point. Or Hollow Point will sort of change. I always start somewhere, right? When I design what the character is going to look like, I need certain, like, I want the jaw. I want to make sure I can mimic this jaw. So what I'll do is I'll start with an actor or somebody recognizable, or I'll find some person, and then I start changing what I'm looking for into what I want. I did this with Rapid as a character in Ignition, and he looks a little bit like what's this guy's name from How I Met Your Mother? Barney. What's his name in real life?
Doogie Howser.
Doogie Howser. Yeah, that's it.
That's a. I
uh,
don't know what his name is.
yeah, I forget his
I
name
I,
too.
I didn't watch. I know who it is. I didn't watch the show, but I
So
know who. I can't remember.
I widened his jaw and changed his nose and sort of pulled his eyes out a little bit because he's got very eyes that are set in. But I wanted a certain framework. I wanted this guy to have a certain look. But I did want him to. I wanted him. He's not a very big hero, but I wanted to give him a bigger jib than his size, so that he looked a
Ah,
little juxtaposed to normal. You know what I mean? So that was a little, these are little tricks that I use to sort of like tune in, fine tune what the character is going to look like.
yeah.
Because I've drawn many ignitions, but none of them were in the vein of what is my character going to look like. So I needed to eventually, once I started drawing the book, I needed to find that. Like what's his face going to try to appear like? Like every time you see Superman, you see the iconic version of what he looks like. Some people really get it perfect, and some people sort of distort it because that's their style. Like Joshua Middleton, he or what's the guy? Ed McGuinness. They sort of distort this version of what you know of it to be the iconic look, but enough so that it doesn't not register as something funny. Ed McGuinness was not actually when he first came on the scene. This was not his strength. Was to make the character look iconically like he did, but that wasn't the reason why people liked him. Because he was sort of a hybrid of these manga styles, but his muscles were a little bigger and stuff like that. So that's the key to an artist. Usually, when, well, for instance, if somebody like Ivan Reyes is drawing Superman, and then they need a fill-in guy, the idea used to be, okay, Ethan Van Sciver draws a little bit like Ivan Reyes. Um, Apollo, no, what's his name? Shoot, there's a couple other guys that sort of draw in that same style, sort of a hybrid, newer, more lines, more detail version of Neil Adams. You know, it's like Neil Adams to the nth degree. How much detail can you put in? Eddie Burroughs, another example of a Ivan Reyes. You know, so the idea was, let's not follow somebody up who's so different and so, you know, non-traditional in that sense, and so that it's not an abrupt change. Now they don't even pay attention to that. I don't even think editors care about that. I don't really think editors, the current stable of editors, um, even think that way. You know, it's like, who can I get to do this book that has a name recognition? It's never really like, okay, we don't want to follow them up with somebody like this or like that, so let me look at a list and go off of the list. No, I think they just go haphazard, and they don't care, and then that's what you get. Look at Wolverine coming back. I forget what it's called, but it was, the first issue was drawn by Steve McNiven, right? Everybody,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, a very popular artist, very detailed. Again, in that same sort of vein of Neil Adams to the nth degree. But he drew issue one, and he's drawing the other end. I don't know if it's 5 or 6, but I think it might be 6. In between is a different guy, very capable artist, a very likable artist, sort of a less is more type style, a lot like Chris Samney, or even the guy Mark Lamming. Uh, very much the same in that sense, but so abruptly different that people are like, what? Why couldn't, you know, like, they're going, actually, you know who takes all the heat for that? It's not Deacon, it's, you know, Steve McNiven. Like, why can't you do all 6 issues? What's the big deal? You know, you did the 6 issues of him dying. Why can't you do the 6 issues of him being Lazarus? You know, what the hell?
He
So
must live.
so anyway, you know, it does create that thing. It used to be traditionally not done. You know, it used to be that you sort of followed these certain unwritten rules, but now you just, I don't think it even thought about. But people do complain, and people do come out and go, what the heck? You know, this is not what and sometimes, you know, if you dig deep enough, you can find out this is going to happen. I don't know why people are surprised when they all of a sudden go from issue 1 to issue 2 and go, oh, what's going on here? What happened to the guy that did issue 1? This is not, you know, if you follow along and you read some of the trade magazines that have websites and stuff, you can, it's not like they're keeping a secret. Now, granted, sometimes this happens in a different way. When they were rebooting JLA, and I don't know how they got Jimmy Chung from Marvel, but they were announcing Jimmy Chung on JLA, and it was going to be twice a month. So, and they also got Jorge Jimenez, another favorite of mine. Jimmy Chung's a favorite of mine. Jimmy Chung drew issue 1, and I think he drew like issue 7. So the space between those 2 issues was absolutely ridiculous. It seemed like Chung was going to draw 1 month, Jimenez was going to draw the next, Chung, Jimenez, Chung, because that was the model for these bi-monthly books. That was their model, was 2 artists, each one doing their monthly duty, but you're getting 2 issues. And all of a sudden, you know, what they did is they took Jorge Jimenez off of Super Sons, gave him JLA, and gave him a few little things in between. There was like a Christmas thing, and sort of a tie-in to Batman Metal. So he did, in between dropping off of Super Sons and JLA 2, he did about, I'd say, about 30 pages of work, but the amount of months that was like 5 months. So he was already doing 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, so that he was in, like, you got him for 4 or 5 months, 6 months. and then all of a sudden you got Jimmy Chung again. And you know what? It just I don't know if it's granted these are two artists I like, so you take it. And granted, I don't even read these books, but I go look and make sure I see the art, whatever, and I'll get the trade eventually. But most people don't like this, And the other thing that happens in this industry is taking a guy who's a fan favorite, announcing him, using his name cachet, and what you get is the first three issues of the book done by him. I don't know why they don't stick around for six so that they would get the money for the full trade instead of any kind of split in royalty. I'm not understanding why this is the new thing that you only get three. It's the same thing with Jimmy Chung doing Marvel 2-in-1. He did it for a few issues, and then somebody else was there. You know,
Yeah.
this is sort of trendy, and I'm just not understanding the thought process in artists, in editors, and in the corporation that says, yeah, use the fan favorite guy, let him come in for 3 months, and then let him go do something else, and we'll pull him on another book that we announce, and it's big and it's huge, and we're going to use his cachet, and bam, he's going to be on this book.
Bam.
I would at least demand to be on for however long the first trade was going to be, however long the first arc was going to be. I would say, listen, if you want me on this book and you're using my name to announce it, at least let me get the whole full trade. At least let me stay in for that long, so that when that money, that royalty comes, it's not split between two and three other artists. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think using somebody's name to grab attention, like if it's like if you said like Rob Liefeld was gonna do the cover or is doing a specific comic, and he is only doing the cover and all this, and the person who did the art on the inside is just hot ass. I'd get pissed off if I'm him, just because you used my name to sell something, and that makes me look bad because people aren't going to realize, like, right off the bat, that I didn't draw the inside. I only drew the cover, and they're going to be like, it starts putting a taint on your name.
Which reminds me of something I said about John Dillard. He's really starting to come into realizing his style, and then something you'll see something he did something. Oh, he did Squirrel Girl the other day, and she's a little less detailed. He did a picture of this mech. Now he said the name of it, and I don't remember it. I'm sure he's going to tell me in the chat because he reminded me that Doogie Howser was Neil Patrick Harris. But he did this mech that was so beautiful and oh man, so
I know,
detailed.
I saw it. I wanted to marry it right then.
Wasn't it great?
It was.
And then he does some other things that are so detailed. He did this other guy that had sort of a crackle in his body that where light would show
It's
through.
Chad Middleton.
What? Who's in the? Oh, Chad's in the chat. Hey, hello, Chad. So he does a lot of. I like to see details. That's just my thing. So when he does that detailed stuff, and then I saw him drawing Squirrel, I'm going, what's with the cartoony style? Where'd that come from? So I don't know if he just sort of goes, which is fine. He might go in between styles, but John's a good guy, and I'm not sure what he's gonna bring to Siphon if he's gonna sort of. I told you what I think. You know what I mean as far as detail. It should be a
You
little bit
said that
less.
her breasts weren't nearly big enough.
That's,
You said
that's
double the size, and I was like, I agree, but I don't know that John can handle that size. I said double D's or go home, and you're like, yeah.
yeah. No, that's not what we talked about. But I almost think that the last snow leopard should be less detailed than he is, in sort of what he was doing with Squirrel Girl. A little, it was. I wouldn't say. I don't know. It wasn't really so much cartoony, but it was sort of a less is more approach. So that's something you and John will have to work out because it's just my feeling. Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm always when I think of these anthropomorphic characters are animation. I always see them. Like you kept mentioning, what's the one? Kung Fu Panda. You kept mentioning that, and that's it's in this. And I showed you a book by a guy, or the artist is a girl, but it's local, and it's like that's just how I see that kind of thing. I don't know if I see it so detailed. Like what I want to see Jim Lee do. Not that he hasn't, by the way, because if you look, he did sort of a World of Warcraft, didn't he, or something like that. And he's done stuff like this. And of course, Brett Booth has done this. He did a book that was uh, animals that were bipedal, and I just forget what it was called. So it depends on again, it's just an opinion of mine of like how I see it. You know, he might pull it off with such great detail. I'd be like, oh, I'm buying that. That's the thing. Again, I really like what Brett Booth did. I just forgot the name of it. Anybody remember the name of that in the chat?
Brett Booth.
Yeah, Brett Booth did an anthropomorphic book. Um, I don't know if it was like maybe his first. No. Oh man. No, this was his second series, creator-owned series that he did at Image.
Backlash.
It was right after Backlash. It was the next thing after Backlash. Nobody remembers, huh? Are you looking it up?
Sorta.
Sorta.
I'm not doing a good job of it, but I'm there. Let's see, New 52, Newsarama. He's a paleo artist drawing dinosaurs for various publications.
Is that what they label him as? A paleo artist?
Yeah, he's very into paleo diet and everything.
Oh, that's a diet? Okay, tell me about it.
Nah, I'm just screwing around.
He eats dinosaurs?
Paleo it's like the caveman diet, but he drew like animals, like illustrations for stuff.
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying what the internet told me.
Alright, we'll go with that. Well, I don't remember the name of that. Nobody seems to remember the name of that Brett Booth book that he drew animals. But anyway, we'll just, we'll move on. I just wanted to game the system a little bit. Just to give John Dillard's Game the System channel, which I want to apologize I didn't make it to this morning because of the type of day it was today. But don't worry. I mean, I hope I want to be on, but I don't want to be there every day. I want other people to go on. But if you want me on, just let me know. And I appreciate the invite. I'll probably come tomorrow. Definitely get up and do that. Because that's a fun morning. It's fun to do. And he needs to get you to be more, so that you guys can chit chat a little bit more while he's drawing and stuff like that. And hopefully, get you guys to sort of flesh this out a little bit more and stuff like that.
I can't help it. I can't help it. Cross takes over the entire chat.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, I'm sitting there. I'm about to say something, and then he says something witty, and it breaks my concentration.
Well,
Makes me sad.
Cross is known for being witty, and if we can get Cross to 1,000 subs, we'll get to see Bobby's.
Hello, Bobby.
So moving on, I wanted to talk a little bit about composition of page. Now, since I'm screen sharing already, I'll pull up something. Oh, I don't even have my right pen in my hand. Let me see here. Composition of page. Let me pull up the page. Because sometimes this doesn't work, and sometimes this works. We talk, how me and you, we've talked about iFlow quite a bit. Let's see if this comes on. Alright, this is just in regular viewer, so I don't think I'm giving anything away. Ooh, my name's at the top. Can you see my name at the top?
Do.
Or is it stuck on you?
It's right now. It's showing me as I talk. It's not locked on on you or anything like that.
You know what? I've shown these pages online with my name on it anyway, so I'm not worried about it. All right, so let me go to the thing and screen share. Are you yawning? There's no yawning.
No, never.
There's no yawning. Baseball.
I
All
don't
right.
know. I was at a extra innings game that went into, I think it was like the 14th inning, and yeah, it was time to go home.
All right. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about composition of page, and you can't see my. Oh yeah, you can see my cursor move. That's why I didn't go on. I didn't pull this on through.
Oh God, that's it's like it says Google Hangouts is sharing your screen. I was like, I didn't select anything. Dear God in heaven, it's the computers are taking over.
Yeah, this is the reason why I wanted to use the viewer instead of Clip Studio, because you can see this sort of this hand. But there's some lines in this work. Obviously, I'm trying to draw your eye down, but there's two inset panels, and they were really afterthoughts. You know what I mean? They were. I had drawn this whole cityscape without them, and then there. To be honest, there was some. I can grab it. There was some more cityscape up here that I was trying to do as if fog was coming in, and so I was kind of playing with the lines and sort of going through almost like with a eraser and making them sort of scratchy and stuff like that, because the idea for me was to not fully develop them, not fully render them, not draw every single window. And in the end, I was like, all the work I put into that area, and like even some of them, I would copy them, shrink them, pull them up, move them over here, you know, in the sense of behind this panel.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of them, a lot of little buildings. It's like, you know what? It doesn't look, when you do something so crisp and clean as I did in here with these buildings, and I did something sort of atmospheric. I just
Hmm.
wasn't pulling it off enough where I was happy. So I thought of this idea of setting these inset panels inside of the fuller picture. So I realized if I'm going to do this, okay, that I needed to create some lines to move your eye. Now this is, again, these are advanced techniques, right? So I had to create some lines. So I put a shadow in the center of his chest, right? It's basically what this is doing is creating an arrow. Okay? So this creates an arrow that moves you along to this panel. Then I have his nose pointing where I want you to go next. But what else did I use? I used black behind him. So almost like there's a wall and a door that's open. There's a room that you can see through, but it's black. And I used that line perfectly, almost in. You don't want to put it right on. I didn't want to create a tangent. So you don't put it exactly center, or you kind of juxtapose it to his nose. And what I did is create a line for draw your eye here. Now I talk a lot about composition, because this is the thing that a lot of pages that I'm seeing in some of these campaigns don't have. It's drawing. They draw the conversation, they draw the talking heads, but they do it without any thought. And I'm just I'm not trying to be preachy. I want to help. I want you to build a better campaign. But the only thing I know how to do to help you, because I'm not a marketing genius, is to help you build a better page. That I can do. So yeah, so in this particular page, when I set these inset panels, I knew I had to take enough focus off of this dynamic shot of the cityscape, so I had to create some lines that did that. And it was, again, they were just afterthoughts, but I knew I had to do that, or else I'd blow the image,
Yeah.
or else you skip those, right? If I get you, I mean, you might even do that anyway, but it doesn't mean you still don't try to create eye flow. So I create that zigzag, and then it comes down. Everything's pushing you down. Boom, boom. All the lines are pushing you down. You see, oh, this is a big cityscape. Oh, great. Oh, nice. But again, It's just my attempt was, and when I added them, that I knew I had to do something, or else they would just sit in there and you wouldn't even look at them. This this
Look.
this particular page has decent eye flow until the end, actually. But you know, I don't know. So, for instance, this. Let me go in a little bit because I can control it if I control it with my hand here.
Did you figure out Ignition's day job?
No, I haven't. I haven't yet. But don't give me any ideas on the stream. All right, wait till after. If you have an idea. Okay, so these panels are meant to create sort of the thin spot is here and opens up, and I use his sort of elbow. I'm going to use his body language to sort of bring you from here to here, creating the zigzag. Obviously, there's some center line to him. It tries to bring you here. It does I don't really do that great of a job here, but I mean, there's a lot of lines like her elbows bringing you down here. Because there really isn't any words in here. This is just chaos. This is like fear. We're running. Um, but I do point the car. You know what I mean? I did put the car in that where I put it and the way I put it to point you here. Okay, so
Yeah.
that one car being thrown to another, they're not actually the same car, but it doesn't really matter. They could be the same car. But I mean, you can tell by how they look in the bumper they're not the same car. But he's throwing one car, he's throwing another car. You know, I use see this little black right here. It's not perfect. This could have been better. But I'm trying to bring you down here, but it doesn't. I mean, it's not perfect. It does a little bit. You know what I mean? I am pointing the black in her shirt down here.
Yeah.
The sort of the nose, the way the nose and the face lines up, bringing you down here. Then the next thing you got here is the gun, because you're focused on the guy with the gun, obviously. Oh, there's a guy with a gun. What's he gonna do?
Pew pew.
This gun is pointing right at this guy's head. This guy was smaller before, and then what I did, when I drew it, he was smaller, but it was easy to make him bigger and stuff like that. And I made him I wanted to keep it at his head, but it's not exactly where it was at first. It was sort of coming in. It was coming across his eyes until I made him bigger. But it still works. It doesn't mean it doesn't work, but there was a little bit more thought when I first did it, and then I made him bigger. So now that you get the abrupt halt, because nothing really leads you here other than it's such a completely different image. That, oh my god, this is what they're all fearing, this monster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's not, it is a little bit abrupt. Obviously where the hand is almost framing the corner of the panel, that kind of works. There's another reason why I made them a little bigger, but these are things you got to think about if you're into comics and you really want to work in comics. Remember what I think I said this earlier today. I don't know if I said this to you, but Comicsgate is not what it isn't an open door going everybody come on through. Because you experience this sort of, even when I was a fan and bringing my portfolio, I wanted to draw comics so bad. But there was no, never was there an open door. I walked away with good, valuable information from every convention I ever went to. I didn't mind the rejection. Rejection didn't bother me. I was going for information. I went to two particular people that gave me tons of valuable information. One, I'm going to butcher his name because nobody's ever pronounced it in front of me, but he is on Facebook. His name is Chuck Wojciechowicz. I don't know if that's accurate. He used to work for DC.
Yeah, close enough.
He used to work for DC and he used to draw JLA and stuff like that. Back when there was like JLA Europe and JLA West Coast and JLA, there was a few JLA books. But even though I butchered his name, I used to bring him photocopies, and he would redraw my heads. See, this isn't working. Here's why. So draw this. I'm gonna redraw it for you because they were tilted wrong or angled wrong or I did something wrong, and he would redraw my photocopies. He did this three or four times in a row and really laid into me and taught me by doing that. And I would, he wasn't the most popular artist, so didn't have a line. I used to get, he would always have another chair behind his little table. I would get to sit down with him, and he would just redraw my photocopies in blue or whatever, so that I could see the difference. And he was really teaching me something. And he was really teaching me about gesture and accuracy and that. I mean, things like that. The most valuable person to my career was probably him. Second, as far as talking it and explaining, he didn't ever really draw on anything mine. Never did that. Was Jerry Ordway, who drew Superman and the Adventures of Shazam and stuff like that. And
Shazam,
he
yeah!
when they rebooted Shazam after like they rebooted Superman, and they were looking and go, hey, this worked with John Byrne. This worked pretty well. Let's do this again with Shazam. And so he sort of retooled the myths that were and some of the characters that were around Shazam, because Shazam was a faucet, squirrely hair piece on his head. He could become a Shazam. It was crazy. So he kind of retooled it and sort of made it something viable that DC could use, because they had purchased uh, the rights to be able to, or I think they purchased the rights and trademark of Shazam back in the 70s, I think it was. So anyway, this page, those two people were valuable in my career, and you can find those people, right? I mean, you can find people like that who are willing to
Yeah.
give you time. People who are willing to draw on your samples. I mean, on your photocopies. So this kind of thing is gone. This type of convention is gone. If you've been to one recently, we talked a little bit about that. No, who did I talk to
No,
yesterday?
I haven't been to a comic convention in
We
a
didn't
very
talk
long time.
yesterday about this conventions, though. Didn't I tell you what a convention was like? That I
Yeah, you
just went
told
to.
me that it was not.
It was like LARPing.
It was just people who take commissions. Who, like, you have artists, but they're not comic book artists. They're just there to uh, make some money over, create
Right, right.
create a story or create a character or something like that. They're
Right.
just like, here, tell me what you want me to draw. Okay, you want me to draw Superman with tits? I'll do it. Okay, there you go.
They're like vendors, basically. They're just traveling vendor artist. That's a good way to put it. You know what I mean? But there's still guys that will give you, like Steve Rude, who I met. It's the only picture I have with a pro is with Steve Rude, even though I've met them all. But there's a reason I got my picture with Steve Rude, and we won't go into that now. But anyway, yeah, there are still guys that give you time. They won't. Maybe you won't find a guy like Chuck who will draw on your samples, but you can find people who will give you valuable information. Now you can sit here and I'm explaining to you sort of the eye movement of the page, and hopefully you'll listen, because I worked really hard at this, and that's what I'm trying to say about Comicsgate. It's not we're not all there are not some people over here in a room who are part of it, and we've opened the door and said, oh yeah, you want to make comics, come in. If you don't put in the hard work, um, that's going to show. And ultimately, and this is kind of what's going on, and I think this has a little bit to do with the EVS thing, is you cannot water this down so that what everybody sees is the kind of quality that you wouldn't be able to pass through the mainstream. Or no, I shouldn't put it that way, because we're not really worried about what we want to pass through the mainstream. The kind of quality that doesn't look like you put in the hard work, that kind of looks like, I've always wanted to draw comics, I'm just going to do it. Because that's not really the case. You know what I mean? Even if you think you can game the system, it's not going to be that easy. It's going to be so. And I'm just messing with John because John's putting in the hard work. Um, Watching him draw live and do the things he does, I really believe in John a lot. And I'll get into talking a little bit about community in a little bit, but let me just finish up here with this advanced techniques of comp- composition of a page. Let me find another page if I can find out if there's any event. There's not a lot of technique on that page.
There's the donut technique.
This page, what are they? There's a name for this type of page, and not only is it a quiet page, but it's just meant to showcase a few things, right? So my character's sleeping. Let me go on a little further. What the hell? Okay, let me go down. My character's sleeping, and he has that. I don't want to be woken up by my phone, or I don't want to be woken up by anything. But his phone's ringing, messages are coming through, and he finally wakes up and realizes. So I'm just sort of having to show you that um, there's something he's missing out on. And he finally picks up his phone, looks at it, and it says 27 messages. But as far as composition, this page is just god awful, I think, to be honest. I mean, I convey the message. You know what I mean? I don't want to be woken up. Okay, let me grab my phone. Okay, let me look at my messages. Okay. So now he realizes, I really can't point to it and say, oh, I'm moving the eye right. I mean, the art does sort of move the eye in a zigzag focus. For instance, okay, I will tell you what I did do. I could have, just as easily have done 3 panels here, and then this last panel would be big, but that doesn't move the eye as well. So if you do 2 on the top, yeah, there's this little inset panel. So I am moving you over to here, but I made this bigger. This I made the biggest one here in the center. That does help, and I forgot what that's called, but it does help that I made that bigger, and then went back to 2 smaller or 3 smaller ones that are all about the same size. I changed sort of the depth a little bit. Actually, the depth in here is about the same. It's kind of a half shot. And then he gets in his bathroom, finds his suit, and starts getting dressed. But
Where's my super suit?
ultimately, it's not it wasn't the easiest page to pull off any kind of technique with. This one, I think this is another one like that. That I just needed to convey what was obviously the job of an artist, for everyone out there or anyone who watches this, is to convey what the writer wants you to convey. Sometimes you can capture really good eye movement and create the focus on things, but sometimes creating a sort of a zigzag flow means you didn't put the focus on what needs to be said here. And basically, the conversation between these two is almost like he's like, well, why is why is my suit not fitting? When he's trying to get it on, and she's sort of laughing at that or having a good time with him. This panel here is meant to look like, I think once it's colored, I might leave this sort of in these grayish tones because he's being watched on camera.
That's the 7th camera. There's more cameras.
There are more cameras. That's one of the things one of the things I said to the writers. I want the building to be something different. I'm not saying I wanted the building to be alive, but I wanted the building to have a mystery. And he goes, well, what do you mean? I said, I want the people in the building to have something to do with Ignition's story and where Ignition heads. And I want the building to be a mystery in itself, that there's something not right. So we're like, how about I just throw in one little frame in this whole book, in the whole first book, that he's being watched. And then we're gonna allude slowly over who's behind watching him and why is he watching him. As far as eye movement here, this is another horrible page. It doesn't really, I mean, it works, but there's nothing that really stops you dead, because it's a slow, a quiet page anyway. So there's nothing really, if you can see here, I colored a little bit of a suit, and that's on purpose, because it was in my head. I wanted to do that. Like, his suit he hasn't really turned it on yet. His suit isn't his power, right?
Hmm.
All his suit is a way to keep, he thinks, keep him safe and keep people around him safe from radiation. So it's pulling in all the radiation and putting it into his belt. And there's this thing in his belt, so it's almost like something he has to dump every so often to get rid of the radiation.
I
Uh,
gotcha.
yeah, so that was the idea behind that. Oh, I don't want to show too much. Originally that card page,
Hmm.
I was gonna do one, and what I did is drew them together and to see how it would work. This is actually may not be a bad idea to share. My double page spread, which you can see here. Let me back out here a little bit.
Oh God, he's backing out.
Okay, this double page spread, when I drew the reference for the cars being split in half, I realized it was not going to work on one page. So that's why I did it. Basically, I didn't redraw them on this page. That you don't have to do that when you work digitally. So on this particular page here, I wanted to see how they would work first. So I just sort of just drew them. I was using reference and I threw in the flames and I knew I could split them up. I wasn't worried about that, and I just wanted to see how they would look. Like I realize now that because I wanted ignition to be such a size and I wanted the car to be such a size, this had to go on a double page. So that
I
was,
gotcha.
yeah, it just didn't, I basically I was testing it out. And here's a copy of that sort of that page, and when I once I split them apart, I moved them around and decided where I would put them, and I wanted them to bleed out, bleed over the line, and bleed out. I wanted them to actually bleed out of the page too, and that'll give it more of a dramatic effect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This page isn't so bad as far as another quiet page. I drew all my quiet pages first, everybody. I drew everything that didn't have any action. I drew that first. Wanted to get that out of the way. I wanted to capture certain emotions and certain things about these pages, and I wanted to use interesting angles and interesting lighting, and I knew that they would require a lot of sort of thought and forethought and like if I drew all the quiet pages together, I knew I wouldn't repeat myself. Okay, so if I had drew 1 through 6 or 7 are quiet, and then I'd gone to the end, I might have repeated what I did in the beginning as far as angle wise and such like that. So I basically grabbed them all out of the script and drew every one of them back to back so that I didn't repeat myself. So they were fresh. Each quiet page was fresh in my head, so that I wouldn't overlap or create the same panel or create, like you wouldn't see Noah in you know, the same angle of his face. Now, doesn't mean that people don't do that. They do that a lot. When it comes to talking heads or just faces, you'll see them a lot of times. You can go through the whole book and see how many times I saw him as a profile, or I saw him at this angle, or straight on, or this or that. Neil Adams once said to me, the worst thing you could do is just face straight on because it's boring.
Yeah.
Always tilt it even just a little so that you see more ear on one side of the face than you do on the other. But there are people, now that doesn't mean you don't break that rule. There are people who are really good at breaking that rule. One of those guys is Dale Keown. He draws a really good face straight on. You know why he's basically? I'm gonna tell you why he's saying that. Because you'll never draw if you split the face in half, right, and you draw it straight on. One side will never be the same as the other, and there's a reason that happens. It's because you're left-handed or you're right-handed. So the way you draw one eyebrow will be a little bit different because you're making strokes going the other way than the other eyebrow. So that's why he always said that, because a face is too perfect in reality as far as how it looks. Like the way your hair grows in your eyebrows and the way your nostrils are on both
Oh, I
sides.
know. I've got a mirror.
Thanks for that. I appreciate knowing that you have a mirror in your house. But
I
that
mean, it's
was,
not 100% true. I don't really have a mirror,
but
but I can imagine what a mirror would be like.
but that in all reality, that's why he said that. He wasn't saying don't do it. He was saying the more you do it, the more you have to get it right. Now, some people probably have techniques of doing it digitally. Basically, I could draw half the face, copy it, paste it, flip it horizontally, move it over, and I only have to draw half the face, you know. But I mean, obviously, the hair is not going to be the same on the other side. You'd have to, you can only do that with so much of it. But he's basically saying make interesting angles with the face. Don't be redundant and copy or redo the same thing. So I tried not to do that. Again, why I did all my quiet pages first. So this guy's just at home. I used the chair. How I curved the chair, the light and the dark was my sort of like this will help you get to here. Now this type of panel, um, I mean these lines all lead this, lead horizontal on the page, no vertical on the page, but they don't really lead your eye to here. So really nothing I can do with the type of panel. I wanted to show that he had an intercom system because I wanted to show you another place where the guy is tied into how he can watch in the apartment. I just gave away a big secret for those watching.
There's too many secrets.
So, okay, so here, her elbow. Where's that elbow point? Elbows are always good to use like your pointing direction. So that elbow in this panel is pointing right to the center of this thing. These are the two focal points in here. These two faces. In this conversation, I won't even tell you what's going on, but basically it's just them, you're starting to see emotion. She's come to his house to tell him something that's made her sad. And he's
Yeah.
basically saying, why do you put up with it? Why are you putting up with this dude? I won't even go into the story. This is a good page. Um, Everything, being that there are two people, those are your focus. This is just called almost a center focus page.
A who and a what page?
A center. Oops, I went away from it. Oh, I might be showing too many pages. I think I
Too
showed these.
many pages, you see.
That's all right. I've shown these pages before. Okay. So anyway, yeah. Center focus pages are put your focus in the center. Granted, these two people are split apart by some distance, but they're actually having, what's focus is that they're having some kind of conversation. Um, Now that I look at this
Yeah,
panel,
she really wants Chinese food, and he hates the Chinese, and he's like, nope, not dealing with the Chinese.
you know what? That's funny because originally I said to the writer, I'll have them end their sort of emotional bit with pizza, and then I chose this panel, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just end it with them playing video games. That's even better. That's more trendy. How many times have people done the pizza thing? Like, hey babe, let me get you some comfort food because you're sad. No, hey babe, let's play some video games and not have pizza.
I'll get a triple meat pizza for you, baby.
Zigzag focus on this page. Sort of a disaster. I kind of left it off on this one. I mean, there's nothing that brings your eye here. I actually even lettered it just to just to show the writer where I was at this point in the page. Basically, what he's saying is, like, who the heck beat Alpha? Like, who's this guy? Who's Ignition? But there's nothing here. I mean, these are. Did I show this page?
No.
I didn't, did I? Well, that's alright. It's a quiet page. I'm not going to talk about it though. I'll just talk about the composition wise. So what I try to do is sort of use some lighting effects to help you move. But there's nothing that moves you there. There's nothing that really moves you here. There are some suggestions of things that move you down here. But I pull you here with the light, and I draw your attention to this guy in the center with the light. He's the main focus. This is his sort of valet. What was the guy's name that would fight Pink Panther? Or not Pink Panther, Clouseau? Did you ever see those movies?
No.
No.
Probably Fong.
He would always walk into his house and like be attacked by his like I don't know what he would be like a not a I wouldn't say butler, but sort of like his house friend or something. He would be attacked. But this guy is sort of this guy's bodyguard, so to speak. And the way I lit him and the way I lit the light was to create more focus. Even though there are three people in here, I think he may not have the only dialogue, but he's your center focus. And so that light moves you down here. But this is, there's really nothing with these kind of things. There's where there's talking heads and stuff, and people sort of giving off a little bit of exposition. There's really not much you can do.
Somebody throw a pie.
I mean, I did use this sort of black spot to bring you in, but all I tried to do is keep it unique, keep it different. Don't repeat yourself. Don't show this guy who I've shown you 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Don't show his face the same way each time. From the same height or the same depth. And that's basically it. This guy, see, this is the most interesting person in this sort of group here that you see, and his focus. I mean, the 2 times I drew his face are just, I'm happy with that. I've shown this page, so I'm not worried about it too much. Now, originally, if you look on Twitter, I originally drew this page and there were no panels in it. It was the beginning of a different project. It was page 1 of a completely different project that never saw fruition. No big deal. I liked it so much that I said, eventually I'm going to use it. I'm going to find it'll have its place and it'll have its day. And this is their base of operation. It's sort of a castle. If anybody recognizes it, it's actually Bolt Castle on Long Island.
You kids in your northeast.
Now, see this character here? This guy? Okay, I don't want to give away too much. But
Samurai Paul.
This is the younger version of him. This is who he was. And I just wanted to show it because it's I'm thinking about, see, I haven't really talked to Leon about this, so I don't want to say too much, but I'm thinking about the first backup, because this is the very last page. This is page 22, and I'm thinking about the very first backup being him when he was younger and he was an assassin.
Reboot.
So that's why I went from older to younger version of this one character. Because he's really not, this guy isn't in the same building. This was just my way of, up next, is such and such. But I know I haven't really talked to the writer about that. Because I don't want to handcuff him. I mean, I could get rid of that panel just as easy because it's on a different layer. So it's just there for right now. Anyway, so we talked a little bit about composition. We've been going for almost 2.5 hours. Well, not with you, Chris.
Obviously not with me.
Anything else you want to talk about? Do you even remember my list?
Fortnite.
That's right, but I figured since we talked so much about... Okay, go ahead. What do you have to say about Fortnite?
It's a fine game that many people are playing, and I can find no fault in their programming.
Oh, so you think
everyone's... No, I think the game works. It's got, I don't know if it's their servers or just the way it's coded, but there's always issues where like you'll get hit and it's the guy has already moved and he's shooting you from a new spot, but the game, like, I don't know, so your connection, that connection, the server or something like that is making it so you don't know that he has moved from that spot, and it could just be that it's coded poorly. I'm not really sure. Uh, for me, playing it, I don't know. I don't have the killer instinct, so if you watch someone like Ninja play, which I can't even watch his stuff because it's him and the other top tier players are so far above the people they're going up against that it's boring. It would be like watching a NHLer or a professional basketball player go up against just your average schmuck. They're going to destroy them each time, and it gets boring. There's like somebody put these people out of their misery. And for me, I got to the point where I didn't see the point in playing. Like I actually just started doing hide and seek, where I would find a place to land, hide until I had to move, then I would move to another spot. I wouldn't pick up guns, I wouldn't pick up health packs or anything. I would just run from spot to spot and try to get second place each time by avoiding all confrontation. And it just got to the point where I was like, why am I even playing this? It's experience, but what am I playing it for? So I look at like whoever's playing now, I don't see the point that I don't see how it's that popular with people who aren't that good at playing the game. It's like if you can't crack the top 50 and you're like trying really hard to play it, I don't see I don't understand how somebody doesn't just stop playing right then. You go, yep, you know what? This isn't my game. I can't do it.
It wasn't my game. I tried it once or twice. It wasn't. I didn't like the whole.
I mean, it's not like it's Siege. I mean, anybody can play that. That game's for like chimps can play that.
What?
No skill at all. You just go in there and shoot people in the face.
I'll be right
Damn
back.
fighting words.
I'll be right back.
He's gonna
Go and
show
get
us
something.
his Siege placement. Oh, he is on the move. No, I have no problem with with Siege. I know that he used to play it, so I wanted to see what his reaction would be. No, I Siege is too twitchy for me. I just I tried it one time and I was just like, anybody who's been playing it for any amount of time will understands the speed of the game, understands what you need to do, and it doesn't look fun to me, and that's another reason I stopped playing Fortnite and also Destiny 2's PvP. It was a matter of it's too this you start getting stressed out because you're trying to survive, and it's like there's no reward for it, so you just stress yourself out over and over again to the point where it's more stressful to play that game than anything else. So you just stop. Well, I stopped. But since he's gone, let's talk about the Patriots. Look at that hat. You see that hat in the background? That's a fine hat. I honestly have no problem with the Patriots. I mean, they beat the Rams in one of the Super Bowls, and Tom Brady eats puppies, but that's besides the point. A lot of people eat puppies apparently. Oh God, stop sending me text messages, you weirdos. Hi Eric, hi William. It's Chad. Oh God, he brought his Siege book out. He's got his scores from every game he's ever played. This is where I placed. Look at me.
This is my records. This is a Siege book of records. This is the Guinness Book of World Siege Records. No, actually, I had to go to the bathroom. This is my schedule. I was just joking. I thought it'd be funny.
I thought that's what you were going with. I'm like, he's gonna show us the scores.
No.
The only thing I did was I recorded some of the games I played in Destiny 1 where I got like flawless and went unbroken, which for me Destiny was like the one game that the flow of it worked perfect, so I could do everything I wanted to do my way. and which usually meant that like I'd stay out of sight for people and just like throw grenades and just plink people in the head a few times until they ran and got killed by somebody else. Like I've never gone for kills. I've gone for assists. It's just like hockey. I'm all about the assists.
Say we should play games for fun. I don't.
No, I think we should play games for violence.
No, I mean they think
Oh,
we should play on screen for fun, and like I used to pick on my kids for watching these kinds of things, so I don't know if I could do it. Um, and I wouldn't even know how. I mean, it's like how many different animals do I have to learn and to be able to put content out there? Because I wouldn't know how to do it.
well,
You know.
you have to know how to draw snow leopards and horses and 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 goats that have vampire teeth.
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a camera?
Not on. I have one on my iPad, but I can't connect. I think there's something within. I don't know if it's the iPad itself or the way Apple does it, but I can't connect to live streams on my iPad. Like each one John sends me, I've like yesterday I tried connecting to the thing for an hour, and it just sends a 500 code. But I go on to this Mac Mini that's ancient, and it just pops up, and it work. Well, I don't know about working great, but it functions.
No, it's working fine tonight. You sound great. Well, I guess
Well,
that
I know that I have one of those voices that puts you to sleep. It's great.
no, that's not true. But it does mean without a camera that we're not going to get to see you do that flip.
What flip? There's a flip,
Oh, well, there's been a request for a flip.
like a flip book. I can
No,
do a stick figure doing a flip.
no, this is a physical flip. Like a
Oh, I can't do one of those.
what? That's not what you said yesterday. You said if you
I,
could
s-
get your
I'd
camera
say I'd
working,
tumble for you. I didn't say anything
you
else.
said if you could get your camera working, you'll be the first comic skate creator to do a flip.
I don't remember this thing.
Uh,
I think it was some other crackhead who said that. I do meth, but I still can't do flips.
so, I think we're gonna bring it to a close because we did 2.5 hours, just like we did the first time.
That
Um,
and I refuse to flip. So that's
yeah,
all the reason to quit right there.
right, no flip. But I appreciate all the chatters, all the people that came to watch. I mean, we could read more chats. I can go through and read some. There were some people that came in here recently, like Eric, who's been on my channel, like not been on my channel, but he's been in the chat before. Of course, there's John Dillard. Why don't you play games for fun? Well, it's like learning a whole new software just to be able to do that. Games are for fun. I have a friend that's a programmer for Blizzard. Gonna ask him how he feels about it. Diablo was his life in high school, right? Some people that, my son used to play video games all the time. Like, they barely ever come up. Let me go on me. He's actually down there now, but he's not playing video games. But he would barely come up. Like, call him up for food, call him up to come up. And now
Bring the food down for me.
I think he made that switch, that switch into manhood where we all start to get into girls and go, wait a minute, why am I wasting my life doing this? It's time to start getting into something else.
And then he's gonna hit that time frame where he realizes that girls cost money and video games cost less money, and then he starts playing video games again.
Well, he took a girl out on a date yesterday. Not that he hasn't before, but this is somebody a little older. I shouldn't say this. If he watches, he'll come up here and kill me. So I won't say anymore. But it's good to see him not playing as much video games, I gotta admit. But I really appreciate everyone coming. Chris, why don't you say where people can find you? Why don't you just remind everyone who is watching what you do, where they can find you, a little bit about the last snow leopard. And that guy, who's that guy drawing for you? I forget his name. Oh, shit. Is it? Oh, you got
Satan?
Cross Comics, right? He's the guy?
No.
Oh, it's not Rick.
It's not Rick, because Rick, if he was drawing for me, he'd do a chest reveal. because I'm persuasive.
So go
God,
ahead
I
and
can't. Some guy named John. I don't even know what
John.
his last name is. I threw money at him, and he's like, "I'll draw for you," and I was like, "Okay, just don't stab anybody."
John Dillard, Gaming the System.
Yeah, that guy.
Great artist. Has his own channel. He's in the chat. Everyone in the chat is that hasn't subscribed to him, do so now. Because he's got a fun show. He's really got. Tell you what, who's got the radio? Like, you got Chester, who has a great voice for this and really moderates really well. John has a great voice for this. I mean, excellent voice. If it were me, John should sort of become like the next guy who has multiple sort of shows that are about different things. But obviously he has a day job and is drawing comics, and we're all finding out that we want to bring you content, we want to bring you something, but it's a little overwhelming when you have other things they're required from you. Obviously, working, feeding your family. But the other things are, I need to get these pages done. How much content can I do? We're going to try to do 1 weekday show and 1 weekend show. And I might I'm on a lot of other shows, live drawing with people or hanging out or whatever. So part of my content you'll have to find me on those shows too. John Dillard show in the morning. Uh, uh, Good Dog. Is it Good Dog Press? Good Dog Press? Good Dog. Yeah, it is Good Dog Press. Manny's channel after midnight usually, but I think he's going to change that. Tank Ferret, who I invited in here and didn't make it, is going to have a channel. He's starting November 15th with a big show with all of us on it. Um, who else is in our community? Oh, we Chester obviously and Denali and those guys. Here's something I wanted to say in the beginning, and now that I have about only 4 people. Well, let me say this. There's the White House, right? And over there in the White House, you have EVS, and you have John Malin, and you have Diversity in Comics, and Mike S. Miller, and Edwin Boyette, and Doug Tenaple. We're building our own wing, okay? We're building our own wing off of that main house. And let me capitalize on something here, and don't take this the wrong way. There's going to be no drama here. There's no drama. There's no titles. There's no, there's no competition. Other than we're competing for the consumer. We're competing for the same consumers. We're competing for consumers who like our content. But there's no competition here. We're going to help each other. And every time that I tweet, it's never about me. If you notice, I mean, I'm tweeting about my show, but most of my other tweets are attached to somebody else's tweet, and I'm saying this is a great show. This is the type of thing in our wing that we're going to start to do. This is something I'm going to be talking about to everybody really soon when I can get everybody in sort of the same room, because this is how we're going to build that wing. Okay, we're not going to be able to compete with the main house. You might see some people go back and forth into the main house. But in our wing, we're going to build a little different type of community where there's less drama. Because I'm not about that. I'm not about drama. I don't want to hate on people. My plan is to bring you the type of content that you want. My books are going to be absent the things that you don't want in them. But again, that's our wing. Okay? So I know you're a little frustrated and a little upset about what's going on over there in the main house. Don't worry about that. You won't get that here. Cross Comics, Good Dog Press, John Dillard Gaming the System, Chester Busby, and his many channels or many shows that he has. You're not going to get that here. We're going to get a little tighter and a little more become closer pals. And maybe Siphon will have his own channel. Tank Ferret is going to have a channel. And we're just going to get a little tighter knit here, and we're going to help each other out. And hopefully we'll get help from in the big house, but maybe not, but we're going to help each other out. And I hope that you Comicsgate fans, because this is the ideology, this is about the fans, will follow us, all of us. because we're all on each other's shows. We're all having a good time. It's never about drama. It's never about hate. It's never about egos. It's never about bad energy. Okay, it's we're all part of this one book called uh, we're all gatekeepers in in this one book called Beyond the Gate. Okay, it's the first one is going to be a horror book, and a lot of the guys I just mentioned all have segments in it, and I have a segment in it, and I'm almost thinking now. Part of me is almost thinking, hold, pull my book back, hold off, and then show myself in this book first. My story in that, in that book is just, I only have to do a couple pages. I don't even rush in to do them, but I'm gonna tweak some things and move it around a little bit and make a really good story for you guys. I just haven't fully thought about this, that I might do this or might not. But this community, this wing of this house, come join us. Come be a part of it. These are all good guys, friendly guys. Manny's a great guy. Tank's a great guy. John's a good guy. Cross Comics is a great guy. Obviously, I chose Chris for a reason. He's an excellent guy. So don't, if you're frustrated, or you're kind of feeling like, oh my God, these guys aren't listening to me. These guys are starting to develop their own thing, or it's sort of getting out of hand, or whatever. Let that blow over, because it will. They'll get it straightened out. My very first show of Ethan's that I watched, Mitch Brettweiser was on. He said, "Listen, guys, what we really need to do is kill him with kindness. We need to come correct. You can't be embattled all the time. You can't do that." And I sent my DMs and said, "You know what? I agree. That's the way to do this. Kill him with kindness. Not gonna answer for anybody. I didn't join a hate group. I'm not worried about any kind of doxing or anything like that. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I am who I am. I'm trying to bring you good comics. It's not aligned to anything more than an ideology of what you want. You can find me at Marooney Todd, at Marooney Todd on Twitter. Subscribe to my channel. Hit the like button. I've sort of touted a bunch of other channels. Subscribe to those. Do that. They'd appreciate that. Hopefully you came here from those. You saw me on one of those. And I'll let Chris here say a few things about where you can find him.
I posted things in the chat because I can't remember the addresses. I figured that's going to be an easier way of letting people go to it, because I have a Instagram that has the exact same things that the Pinterest has, so I didn't see the point in listing that, because I haven't updated that in at least half a year, because I don't have a whole lot to update it with. More or less, I'm just doing this. John makes the mistake of letting me on his show every once in a while, and like pretty much like every relationship I've had has been because somebody has shown me attention. So if Todd's not careful, I'll end up marrying him because he's shown me attention, and that's just the wrong thing to do to me. I'm desperate for attention. I like the eyes.
Hey everyone, good night. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. Take care.
See ya.